Okay, afternoon everyone. Keegan here from Curious Engineering. Just going to give you a tutorial, or kind of a walkthrough I could say, just on NeoPixels. So NeoPixels is an amazing offering from adaFruit, and just something fun to add to your projects, something that's flashy, something that's unique, and something that's your own. And also, if you're just interested in LEDs, which is kind of my more interest in kind of exploring that, it's something fun to do. So let's take a look here what we have. Close that out. So yeah, just at our adaFruit site, going to shop and NeoPixels, there's an entire section dedicated to it. There's a lot of interest in the community, so obviously it's something they want to do. You can have a variety of things from rings, which you see here, or just like individual LEDs, the pixels themselves, or the strips. The one that I was interested in was the strip. And as you can see, there's a number of offerings, usually by LED count. So what I just got was mostly your basic one. It's relatively cheap, which is amazing, and I just got like a 30 watt or a 30 LED strip here for you. Now you can see kind of a demonstration of the setup, and they also have this great Uber guide. But what I found with the Uber guide was that there was almost so much information that it was kind of confusing, as well as some of the information is a little bit outdated for potentially an older NeoPixel strip. And so I just want to do a video for this current offering that they have, just to make it as clear as possible for you guys. Awesome. So I'm going to jump into the next section, which is the exact materials that you'll need. Okay, so yeah, I know I kind of commented briefly on why the instructions were so great, but at the same time a little bit confusing and some competing information. So I'll show you exactly an example of this. And look at this, guys. It's an Uber guide. It has 67 pages of data, so it's pretty amazing content. Awesome that adaFruit actually does this for everybody. But again, I'm gonna jump to one that was like almost the inspiration for me making this movie. So right here, let's zoom into that. Look at this. So this might have been for an older NeoPixel strip. So as you can see, there's actually your data line is just one pin. So this is probably for like more of a bare bones kind of strip if you were to get it. When you're actually like soldering or connecting that wire. But you know, as I see, look guys, this is what comes to you, right? This is not that. So it's a little bit confusing, and it's like, okay, you know what, let's look at the actual soldering work, and that's actually how I found it out. So just that's one example of something that's confusing. And the instructions obviously here show, hey, make sure, well, that's interesting, I use the same 470 ohm totally by chance. Anyways, the picture again shows that you can actually directly connect to your Arduino board, and you're like, well, I thought these instructions tell you to make sure you use a capacitor, make sure you use a resistor, but the picture itself actually doesn't do that. So here you're gonna see right here the picture is directly connecting to it right from your strip. So just some points to clarify, and maybe if you ever again feel free to ask questions. That's the biggest thing. Okay, now we're back with all the materials that you're going to need to accomplish this project. Again, you're going to have your NeoPixel strip. A few things of note here. You're going to have your power cable, your 5-volt input, along with your ground. And then as well, you're going to have to communicate with it through your board via the data line, which is, in this case, it's actually a white cable as opposed to another color. They want to differentiate that from the second ground that they actually need to communicate with that port on your Arduino board. As you can see, this is a JST type cable, so what you'll need is a male 2-pin version of that. Not sure if, anyway, so what you'll notice here is both sides are black, so you have to be really careful which connects to which, but as you plug it in, you can figure out which side is the black and which side is the white side, which is your data bus. Now the other thing you're going to need is a large 1000 microfarad 16-volt capacitor, somewhere around that range, at least 1000 microfarads, with I think what they recommend is about a 6-volt value along that capacitor. So that will be put across your power and your ground, just as a protective measure to avoid any sort of power surges. Again, as I mentioned, specifically for this, we're going to be powering it with a direct line from your wall outlet. So you'll need a 2.1 millimeter DC jack. This one just has a few small screws on it. You'll put your cables in there and tighten it down. What I noticed and what I actually had to do with these, it was a very short end, so you just have to get out your wire cutters and strip it a little bit so you can get a little bit more space to work with. And then the next thing you're going to need is a 470 ohm anywhere, and you don't necessarily need this one. This is the first one I could find just because I have a million of these resistors, and this is the first one I found. So anywhere from the 300 to 500 ohm range, and you'll be putting this in series with your data line as another protective means. But again, I've seen in the image you can actually just directly plug in your JST cable directly to your Arduino board if need be. You might just need another small breadboard if need be, otherwise you can connect directly to your board if you want to be a little bit just more direct. Okay, now after your materials, just looking at a basic diagram here, from your JST connector, just drive your data line through that resistor that we have straight to pin number 6, and then just ground your ground. Awesome, so we're back. We're going to take a look at what we need to do in our IDE to get this going. So the first thing we want to do, let me close this real quick, give us some space. Okay, so first thing we want to do is actually include the library. We actually have to download it. It's actually I'm not sure if in the latest offering it already has it, but let's just go through the steps in case you ever need to. So go to Sketch, include library, and we're going to go to the Manage Library function, or search feature, which is great. So we're going to pop it up here, and it makes it super easy for us. Obviously, we are interested in NeoPixels, so the best way to do is to start Neo. Don't even need to type in the rest of it, just get to the point. So here it is, boom, the second one. I already have it installed, version 1.0.1.0.4. If you want to look at other versions, perhaps there's some compatibility or other features that you liked in past, you have the option of installing those. Best thing, probably just go with the first one, or the latest one I should say. Cool. So it will install. Once it's done installing, you can likely get to testing the cable out as fast as possible through what's known as strand test. I don't know, I'm not. So let's take a look at that. So the best way to do that, you can either reach it one of two ways. Go to File, Examples. It might actually just be here, adaFruit, NeoPixel, and then you'll probably want to go to Strand Test. So Strand Test is the one you want to do. If that doesn't work, then you can always find it in your actual Arduino library itself. So just find that file. It's probably its own library, which is exactly what I anticipated it to be. There's a number of files when you go into, you might be like, hey, what are all these? You probably don't need to know these. These are different files that are header files, or files that are run in the background or contribute towards the overall running of this thing. Lot you don't need to know for your basic test, but we can delve into those later if need be. So again, you can go to Strand Test, and here it is, your Arduino sketch file. So first thing we want to do is obviously make sure we have our board correctly plugged in. We also have our correct COM port. So we have the board, we have the chip we're gonna program, as well as the correct port. In my case, I have port 5, and then we also have our correct programmer. Cool. So let's compile, make sure nothing is wrong with this one. What you'll kind of notice here, actually probably the only thing you really want to notice, is the correct pin. So we've defined pin as 6, which we'll use later. That's the reason why I connected the data bus to that pin, the digital pin number 6, particularly on the board itself. Cool. So now let's check out, make sure we see that it's correctly uploaded. Alright, it's done uploading. So let's turn this back on. Cool, so we're now going to plug in the power. That's the last step you always want to do. And then, boom. It works. Amazing. It'll run through kind of a variety of sequences, anything that it's pre-programmed to do, particular to this strand test. So, yeah, there's like I said, this is just to get you up and running, and then where you take it from here is is up to you. So, cool.